Dallas has just been on a tear. I believe we can attribute that to Jason Robertson. Also, Jake Ottinger, who's really stepped in.
Yeah, so we can compare a rookie QB to a toddler. Hayward's absence for this game will be significant, and I wouldn't be surprised if this game turns into a blowout as of late.
The Golden Knights just can't pull it. I really think the Avalanche are determined this year.
They made so many moves and grabbed so many guys that they have to win a championship or at least make the finals. They were on our championship and bust.
The same self, the only year he won an MVP was the year he cheated, which really should put something against that MVP. But
yeah, and as a Cowboys fan, I have learned how dangerously good Aaron Rodgers has been with he can just thread a pass.
Hello, I am Ruby Ackerman, and you are listening to Outsider's Opinion with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NFL Opinions of the Week. We talked about the Super Bowl at a good length, pretty long for our usual episode, but it was fun. What a game that was once again. But now, the man that has not lost the Super Bowl, Austin.
Well, Kevin, you are right. That one may be a little bit of a gimme for most people, but you are correct. I have never lost a Super Bowl. And to kind of get this one started, we'll talk about first this year a little bit. And I just want to ask you a question. This is not a statistical question. There is no right answer.
Mhm.
Will Brock Purdy make it to another Super Bowl during his career?
During
Not that
his
he will win
career,
one. Do you think he will make it back to a Super Bowl?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay. Do you think Jalen Hurts will make it back to another Super Bowl?
Ooh, that's tough. I kind of feel like yes.
Will Joe Burrow make it back to another Super Bowl?
Yes, for sure. For
Okay.
sure, Joe.
So I just listed the last three Super Bowl losers, obviously. Who is the last quarterback to lose their first Super Bowl appearance and make it back to a second Super Bowl?
Okay.
Do you get what
To
I'm
make it-
asking?
Do they have to win or just make it back?
Just make it back. Lose their first Super Bowl appearance of their career as a starter, obviously. These are as starters. I'm not trying to trick you.
starter. Huh.
To make it back as a starter. Lose their first as a starter, make it back as a starter.
All right. This one, there may be a more recent one, but I'm gonna go Jim Kelly.
That is the most recent.
Wow.
Statistically speaking, Purdy, Hurts, all of them won't make it back. Burrow won't make it back. We talk about a lot of those former QBs who lose their first Super Bowl and don't make it back. It's crazy. And people are like, oh, well, Burrow's so good. Hurts is so good. Purdy's so young. Cam Newton won an MVP the year he made to the Super Bowl. How many people do you think you ask right after they lose, will he make it back? Well, he just won MVP. They just went 15-1. Nope. Matt Ryan, MVP when he loses. He'll make it back. They just won MVP. Their offense was amazing. Nope. The chances of a quarterback losing their first Super Bowl and making it back is extremely low. And I do think it's why I say for the 49ers, I told my dad this, I don't think they win one. I don't think they win one. I think it's close. It takes so much. I mentioned this in the last video. It takes so much to get to this point. Even if you have a great like Montana, Mahomes, Brady, it takes so much to get to this point. It's so hard. It's so hard for MVPs. Lamar has won 2 MVPs and hasn't even made it to one. I don't think Purdy will win one. Unfortunately, I don't think the 49ers will win one. I'll say that. I don't think the 49ers will win one in the next 5 years, at least 10 years. It's very hard to make it to this point. And when you lose that opportunity, when you lose this game, it is not easy to come back.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And yeah, I am hopeful, but yeah, that's a very good point. Man, I can't believe it's really Jim Kelly. I thought there'd be someone more recent. But I just, when I look at the Eagles, though, I thought they were like, man, they would just be right back here. But look at the season they had. They were incredibly hot, and then it just took a turn for the worse.
In a weaker conference, in a weaker NFC than it was last year.
Mhm.
Like this
Yes.
past season was a weaker NFC than it was the year previous, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's agree, and they're less premier quarterbacks because Rodgers was in it last year. He's gone. You know, I feel I wouldn't be surprised if Hurts and Purdy don't make it back. I would be surprised if Joe Burrow doesn't make it back, just because of the type of quarterback he is. And we were talking about Mahomes. He's a guy I trust, but he just hasn't proven it yet with that ring. But I feel he gets one. I think he gets back there one time.
You always think that, and that's my thought too. I don't blame you for thinking that at all because it is such a weird thing to believe. But like a guy like Steve McNair made a Super Bowl appearance in his age 26 season, 1999. The Super Bowl happened in 2000, but 1999 season, and it won an MVP at 30. So at 26, he made the Super Bowl. At 30, he won MVP. Did he ever make it back? No. These are players that just make it one time. Who, again, McNair made it before he was an MVP. Then 4 years later was the MVP, and he never made it back. It just takes so much. Again, if you ask, do these players make it back? McNair was young. 26 is young for a QB, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's pretty young.
Players just don't make it back. It takes so much. I mean, I know people are going to say, like, Bledsoe, he lost against the Packers. He was on the Patriots team that in 2001 that ended up winning it, but he wasn't a starter in that game. He didn't play in the Super Bowl. So that's my point. Like, starter and starter. Bledsoe got paid a lot of money and never made it back as a starter. You just don't get these opportunities that often.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so beautiful just to win one. And I think if you're a fan, like, you just get one, that's beautiful. And it just goes to what a run it is and just how the players feel. And I'm curious how what it will be like in the future if those players do make it, because this was a quote from Travis Kelce, or it was from Jason talking about Travis after they lost the second one, or after they lost the second Super Bowl they went to, they wanted it more. And Jason was like, now I understand what you're saying to Travis in regards to last year.
Yeah, I get that. I would like to ask you another question, and this is no right answer. So, of the last 5 QBs to lose their first Super Bowl appearance that they played in, those would be, I'll go last 4 because those are the only ones that are actually still playing. It's Purdy, Hurts, Burrow, and Jared Goff. If one of those 4 makes it, who is first?
I'm gonna say Joe Burrow, and then
even over Goff, who made it to the NFC Championship.
I know. Yeah, I just when I think of quarterbacks and their talent, I think Joe Burrow is the best out of all of them. However, I did think about Goff because of the situation.
My pick would be Goff. I think the Lions are that good.
Okay.
It's not necessarily a knock on Burrow. Like, Burrow's definitely a better QB, but the question is,
Burrow has to beat Mahomes.
Yeah, it's crazy. People are saying Mahomes is all ready to go because of all these great QBs who aren't going to get the chance to win a Super Bowl. But Brady did the same thing. He's just like, both of them are just like Michael Jordan.
People
in
are
the sense,
comparing him to Jordan.
Yes, it's like,
do you want to talk
Brady,
about that? Or?
There's multiple MVP or a lot of MVPs who. The reason why did McNair not make it back after 2000? Well, in 2001, a guy named Brady or in 2000, it was 1999 season, and in 2000 Brady's drafted. So he only had 1 year after the year he made it to make a Super Bowl without Brady there, and he couldn't get past Brady. Phillip Rivers never made a Super Bowl. Why? Brady was there. He made AFC Championship games. He just couldn't get over the hump that was Brady. There's been so many teams in history that have just not been able to win the Super Bowl because of Brady. And it's the same thing with Mahomes. And it is so weird how the divide is between utter greatness and very, very good. And very, very good players get into the Hall of Fame. And maybe they're great talents, But if you're not winning Super Bowls, it really does put a damper on your legacy. Again, will some of those players I mentioned make the Hall? I think Matt Ryan should make the Hall of Fame. Statistically speaking, he's one of the best QBs of all time. Top 10 in almost every stat. Won an MVP. But if he had won that Super Bowl, Kevin, in 2016, no doubt.
Sure. Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah, no doubt.
But because he lost, some people don't think he should. Eli Manning may get in. And he, as a regular season quarterback, is not even remotely close to Matt Ryan. Not even in the same stratosphere. He was never even really considered for an MVP. But he won 2. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. Super Bowls are the most important ring in sports, I feel like, for one position.
Because do you think Nick Foles gets in?
No, because he only has 1 Pro Bowl. So I don't think he does.
I don't think he gets
no
in
doubt
either.
he'll get in the Ring of Honor for the Eagles. That's not even a question. Not even a question.
He is a statue.
Yeah, he'll get into the Ring of Honor for the Eagles. That's not even a question.
Yeah.
But I think basketball is the only one comparable to the Super Bowl for QBs. Super Bowl for QBs is just like basketball championships. It's the same reason why it is so close, and LeBron's not done. But it's the reason why I have Jordan over LeBron is his constant losing in the biggest moments, having terrible performances against the Mavs in 2011 that cost you a ring. And people will always call back. It's the reason why, even though Brady won against the Rams, they'll still, he played bad. It was a Super Bowl. Roman Holmes against the Bucs. He played bad in the Super Bowl. Like, these games matter so much. And there's been so many great QBs that just cannot make it back. So you have to take advantage of your one opportunity. Actually, I forgot the other QB. I could have done the last spot because they are current. The other, it's not going to change your mind. It's Jimmy Garoppolo. That's not going to change your mind. But those are really the only 5 current QBs that have lost their first Super Bowl and are still active. So it's remarkable how brutal it is to get back. The only difference between the NBA and the NFL, at least recently, and I know the Warriors were really good for a period of time, but there's not many dynasties in the NBA anymore. The Warriors have won 4, sure, but that took 8 years to do. And even during that time, the Raptors, who had never won one, are getting a ring. There's no Raptors in the NFL getting a ring right now. I guess you could say the Rams, but they had already won the Super Bowl before, right? So there's not many. The Lions would be my comparison to the Raptors. And are we going to see the Lions win one? I don't know.
We did have the Eagles. Eagles sort of, except how old is that? Man, we're getting old. Because it was the first Eagles one.
True. But they had at least made it to one before.
That's true.
It's crazy that since 2014, Brady and Mahomes have combined for 7 Super Bowls. 7.
It's insane. We already have another dynasty. And we just got finished with one, which is shocking to me, and it's incredible.
It was, if we go from 2014, it was Brady, Manning, Brady, Foles, Brady, Mahomes, Brady, Stafford, Mahomes. So Mahomes has 3, Brady has 4. 7 out of 10 between 2 teams, or not 2 teams, between 2 players. And it really does feel like teams, because when the quarterback goes somewhere else, it feels like it's a whole different team. But it's just, I don't know. It's just so remarkable how dominant players are in football, at least recently. Just those upper echelon guys are just so much better than the rest.
Yeah, and that's why I give so much to winning. Just when coming in those big moments, like you mentioned, they're like, "Oh, Brady didn't play well." Yeah, but he still did enough to win. Winning
Mahomes' first Super Bowl, he threw 2 picks and definitely should not have been Super Bowl MVP. But he did enough to win. And that's all that matters. All that matters is a score when the game's over.
Because all you got to look at is the win. Just like they won.
It's the Brian Scalabrine quote. And I know it's hard to compare Scalabrine to 2 greats in their sport, like Brady and Mahomes. But if you play bad and win, Skylar Brady's how do you, the media asked him, how do you feel that you didn't play a minute in the NBA Finals? How do we won. In 5 years, I tell my kids that I played. In 10 years, I tell them I started. In 20 years, I told them I won Finals MVP. No one's going to remember except that you have a ring next to your name, and especially for these QBs. Again, I could only imagine if Breeze had never won one, or if Russell Wilson's almost certainly a Hall of Famer just because he won that Super Bowl.
Yeah, wow. I feel like he's won more, but yeah, no, he's only won one.
It's so impactful to a QB's legacy that, like you were asking, does Foles make the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
People were asking if Stafford's made 2 Pro Bowls, and I don't think he should have made it this year. 2 Pro Bowls and a Super Bowl and Super Bowl MVP. Is that enough to get in? That's how impactful it is for a QB to win a Super Bowl. If you win a Super Bowl, people are asking, are you a Hall of Famer? Is that not incredible?
It is incredible. And the NFL's one where it's just like the Hall of Fame is not very limiting. There are just so many great players you can argue that could get in, and a lot of them do get in.
Yeah. Shocked that Antonio Gates did not get in. I think
I was upset when DeMarcus Ware didn't get first ballot.
Well, if we're talking about at position, Antonio Gates is even better than DeMarcus Ware. Like, this is...
Yeah, it's true.
I think he's easily the 4th best tight end of all time. And the top 3 are really... If I'm being honest, you could put any of the top 3, whether it's Tony Gonzalez, Travis Kelce, or Gronk at 1, and I'm not going to call you a crazy person. I've seen a lot of arguments for Tony Gonzalez because he could actually block. Now, he wasn't as dominant as the blocker is. Rob Gronkowski was a top 5 blocker per PFF during his prime. Like, he's an O-line level blocker. It's like having a 6th offensive lineman. That's how good of a blocker you are. That's why he's my GOAT. But I can see Tony Gonzalez being better than Kelce, and it's really close between those two. But Antonio Gates and Shannon Sharp, I think, are those 4 or 5. You could intertwine either of those. I think Antonio Gates is better, but Sharp has 3 Super Bowls. Now, I don't think it's as impactful. I think many, like Darrelle Revis, I think is a top 5 corner all time. He has 1 Super Bowl. I don't think that impacts your legacy. If you're not a QB, I don't think you have to have a Super Bowl.
Yeah. No, it's with the QBs because they touch the ball the most. We associate winning with them. And sometimes they prove it, like Brady and Mahomes prove it. They're incredibly dominant.
Brady really hurt a lot of people's view because they were like, oh, he didn't have this or that or this or that. So that's why he didn't win it. And Brady and Mahomes now show that there's no excuses. If you don't win it, it's because you weren't good enough. And so, again, was like Gates, I'm shocked he didn't make it. But if he had a Super Bowl, Gates would have made it. I think he would have made it just because of it just means something more. But I'll kind of end it off with this last thought that it really is crazy how many MVPs have gone to a Super Bowl and never made it back. One time they lose. But if you win your first, it unlocks the door that you could make a second one. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's just... Again, back in 2021, Jimmy Garoppolo made it to the NFC Championship game and lost. And so I was like, oh, is someone finally going to make it back? This year with Goff, oh, is finally someone going to make it back? Nope. It's been 30 years, Kevin. 30.
Dang. That's insane. Yeah, that's crazy. And I'll toss this back over to you to close it out.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening. Who do you guys think will be the first QB to break that curse, or will it never be broken? Please catch us in our next video.